So first of all, greetings from Tel Aviv. I'm right now in Tel Aviv, and I just wanted to thank you for taking the time and joining this webinar. In Hunterz, our team is celebrating every new hunter that choose to join us, and it's not a cliche. We are really so excited to see every day that more and more people, give their trust and sign up and start, providing this introduction on top of the platform. And, we are truly thankful for you and for your trust in us. And I can guarantee you that we are working very hard to build something great and something that will be useful for so many people and so many startups along the way. We are living in a very strange time and in the middle of health and economical crisis. And I just hope that you and your loved ones are in good health and, keeping yourself safe. And my last comment will be that you probably noticed that English is not my first language. So please forgive for any glitches in the language here and there. It can only make the webinar a little bit more funnier and easier. And I suggest that we will start. We prepared quite a detailed presentation that we would like to share with you, and then obviously we will have time for Q&A. Some of them we collected in advance. Some of them you can ask us at the end of this webinar. And as always, is time. If the time is the issue and we must finish, you can contact us anytime. We love to speak with you. We enjoy every call, every interaction that we have with you. Don't, feel free to send us any type of signals, emails, phone calls, everything is accepted. So again, thank you. I will, put my video on stop and keep sharing my screen. So, some few housekeeping items before we begin. So, we've scheduled the webinar for 60 minutes, and we have a deadline to stop in almost 50 minutes. You can submit your question, via the Q&A booth, and we will answer you as many as we can within the time that we have. We are also recording this session, so it will be available later on our YouTube channel. Please make sure that you follow us on the LinkedIn and that you have added the info@Hunterz to your mail contacts, so you don't miss any one of our publications and email notices. And as I mentioned before, if time is not enough, feel free, and I'm saying it, from the bottom of my heart, feel free to contact any one of us anytime. We will be there for you. So what we are going to cover today, basically we are going to focus on, what problem does Hunterz solve? How does the platform works today, and a little bit of insight about how it's going to work in the near and the far future. What is involved in an introduction? That's a new concept, not introduction, but what we do as an introduction. We owe you the explanation, what is a warm introduction, what is the business meeting that we ask you to arrange and the startup are expecting to receive. What can you do in order to get introduction request if you haven't received so far, or if you want to have more intros and work more intensely with us? We will try to answer that as well. And why the warm introduction became so valuable, especially in the time of the COVID-19, because from our side, we see a big increase, a big surge in interest in what we do. More hunters are joining, more startups are joining, and it is associated with the times that we are now experiencing. So, my personal quick background, as I mentioned, I'm based in Tel Aviv. I'm splitting my time between New York and Tel Aviv. Hunterz.io is an American company. We founded it, me and Noam, my co-founder and the CEO. We founded the company roughly 2 years ago in New York, and the company is based there. The rest of the team is from New York. I'm the only one that at this stage live outside of the US, and I'm just splitting my time between New York and Tel Aviv. My personal background, I'm coming from telecom sales for many years. I worked for small startups, and then some of them were acquired by bigger, American corporates like F5 Network, and then I had the opportunity to work in a much bigger scale organizations, and that was one of the greatest lessons that I have received personally. During these years, I developed and managed sales organization in Europe, in Asia, and even for time to time in the US. And in Hunterz, I'm responsible for the revenue and sales. I'm the CRO. And basically anything which is related to the revenues, to the user experience, both the startup and the Hunterz, from joining up to retention, is under my responsibility, and that's a great job to do. A little bit about the background. We are getting so many times the feedback that we are doing something very unique that was never done before, and we would like to share with you a little bit about how we came to the concept, what triggered us to leave our positions as a senior sales guys in big organization, and drop everything and become entrepreneurs and founders of a small startup. So as I mentioned, both of us are coming from sales background for many years, sales and business development. We have worked both for multinational companies and for startups. So we experience on a personal level, the pain and the challenges that every company has, regardless of its size and level of maturity. So we know what are the challenges the startup has, definitely, and also bigger organization. And that's along the way, that was one of the things that we decided to solve by introducing a new concept into the market. During all these years, we knew and learned that most of our friends and colleagues, professional sales and other, spend their entire career on cultivating their networks. But so far there was no good way, organized way to monetize on that relationship outside of the 5 to 9 jobs. So definitely when you switched workplaces, definitely when you been promoted in your position within an organization, your professional network, who you knows, and what doors can you open for a new or for the existing organization was extremely important. But that was always, most of the time, was limited to the current job that you had. In parallel, over time, a motivation is built inside us that, we wanted to empower B2B startup with the same sales muscles that huge companies have when it comes to their go-to-market, or more to the execution of their go-to-market. Because as I mentioned, we came from very small organization and then to bigger ones, and we saw the differences, how, what are the challenges that a small startup has as opposed to a company with 5,000, 7,000 headcounts that doing sales and business development. And that's a game changer. The size of the sales force, the reach of the sales force is a game changer whenever you want to introduce a new product into the market that you already own, or sometimes even when you are trying to penetrate new market. your logo, your prestige, your customer base, and definitely the size of your sales and biz dev organization are critical for the success, you know, on top of course, having a good product. And for us, you know, all this understanding and experience that we have led us to the conclusion that it's about time to open a marketplace that brings free sales professionals, business insider, industry expert, all together in order to help, you know, B2B startup to grow, and to do that by, you know, utilizing their relationship and knowledge, and help the startup to grow and execute their go-to-market strategy. And that's it. That's in essence, you know, the concept behind Hunterz. We would like to give any small startup the same reach and the same set of tools that any bigger corporation has in order to introduce their amazing innovation and startup and solution into the market, and making sure that the door will be open for them, and to ease the journey of any startup, the growth journey, which is usually very painful, to ease it a little bit by what we do. And that's where the mission and the vision of Hunterz came from. Just to explain a bit about the concept, you know, Hunterz is a two-sided marketplace, and then today we have so many good examples of two-sided marketplace, where on one side you have a demand, so a community with a demand. In our case, these are the startups, B2B, high growth companies, most of them mature, with good funding and financial background and product ready to the market, and they just need a good execution. And from the other side, from the supply side, we have a community. We have you guys, you know, that's you on the other side. And that's the Hunterz, and that can be basically anyone who has the relationship, anyone who is interested, you know, to make this business connection for the startups, and get paid for that. That's part of the offering, of course. So, you know, a two-sided marketplace, you know, we all know the concept, but, you know, our story is that the service, the delivery is the warm introduction or the business introduction that you guys can generate for the startups. So basically, that's in a very short explanation what we are trying to do. You know, you can think about many other marketplaces, two-sided, like Uber and Airbnb, Amazon. You know, so many, you know, places where you have two communities that can, you know, enjoy from each other, and then in the middle you have a sort of intermediary, a proxy, a platform that help them to connect with each other and, you know, have transaction between them. Part of the story and why we decided to try and solve this challenge of opening door for startup by using warm introduction is the fact that, you know, there is no real question that that today, you know, warm introduction, personal referral are in a way, you know, the holy grail of the B2B industry. Nobody is going to argue that for any startup or any entrepreneurs, in order to get the attention of prospect, or in some cases for entrepreneurs, the VC, the best way to do that is to get a warm referral or a warm introduction by someone, because that's a very effective tool to get the attention of the other party, and the referral is obviously working in the background in order to facilitate any future discussion between the startup and the enterprise. And we knew that because we experienced that in person. You know, our best deals came from, or our best, you know, prospect came from someone who referred us to that organization. You know, someone who is trusted by both sides, someone who is can, you know, vet your product or your solution to his contact within the enterprise. And that's something that, you know, works great. And we decided that that will be the main tool that we would like to, you know, to take, try to scale it, try to build, you know, a scalable mechanism or platform that will allow the 10,000s of people and then hundreds and thousands of startup to enjoy from this, you know, very effective business tool called referrals or warm introduction. A little bit about, you know, what benefit, you know, do we see today for both sides of the marketplace. So starting with the startup, of course, the first benefit will be a very targeted introduction or a very targeted approach to their dream customers. You know, every startups should know what it is go-to-market strategy, should know who are the top enterprises that he wants to sell to or he wants to start sales processes with. And, you know, using the platform, using your relationship, they can easily do that today. They can choose a specific enterprise. They can, you know, learn who are the hunters who are connected to this enterprise. And then they can use that in order to, you know, initiate, you know, the first sales meeting. You know, we connect the startup with you guys, and most of you, if not all of you, are industry experts with insider knowledge, because either you sold to this organization many times, or you work for this organization for a couple of years, so you know the culture, you know the organization, understand the structure, the internal structure. And sometimes it's just a personal relationship, someone that you know very well, that work within the specific enterprise. And, you know, from him, you learn a lot about the insight of the specific enterprise. But we see that happen on a daily basis. We see that when we connect you with the startup, there is a valuable knowledge being exchanged. You bring to the table much more than just you know, the ability to introduce them to person A or B inside the organization. As a sales veteran myself, you know, one of the key benefits that I think we provide to startups is the shortcut, or the fact that we dramatically short the sales cycle. Because with us, you know, within a couple of days, you can find yourself as a small startup sitting in the same meeting room with Bank of America, Citibank, Walmart, Nike, just name it. That never happened before. You know, the journey to the enterprise meeting room was long, was exhausting, was expensive. If we are, you know, thinking about the cost, and in many cases, you never got there. Even though you spent your time, money, energy, and whatever on top of that, you never got to that meeting with Citibank Cloud architect or whatever you was looking for. And today, with Hunterz, we dramatically shorten the cycle. We bring you directly to the right person with a warm referral, so you can, you know, enter into the meeting room under the best condition possible. And, you know, next is up to you. And that's, that's again, anyone who is coming from the background of sales, B2B sales, immediately understand here that benefit. And I think that that's one of the great things that we can offer to the startup today. Another things that we're experiencing in the last, definitely in the last couple of months where we started to scale dramatically, is the possibility for startup to find their next hire. Any one of you, on top of what you can help them with business introduction, might get some sort of offering or proposal from the startup. It might start with, we are very impressed for how you connected us to Enterprise A. We are very impressed by your skills. You're a subject matter expert. What about, becoming our consultant for that sale? What about consulting us for the banking industry or for the healthcare industry in general? Even some, direct job offering. Startups are hungry for talent. Startups are looking to hire the right persons. The tools that they have today to hire, starting from ads in LinkedIn and using headhunters, all sorts of methods of headhunting. As a person, that used that for many years, I never was happy with the results. Any wrong hire when it comes to sales is dramatic for the organization, especially for small ones. And we see a demand growing from the startup and a real interest in using our platform as a hiring tool. Once they get to know you, once they see that you are delivering, what you promise in terms of who you know and how experienced you are in the banking industry, then they realize that you are the talent that you are looking for, and that can lead to, for a job offer. If we look at the other side of the marketplace, on the Hunterz, so definitely a unique way to monetize on the network at a large scale, by making intro to existing connection that you already have. Your network is valuable. We understand that. We just discussed about the value of a referral in the business world. That's priceless, and the fact that today you have a platform like Hunterz, where you can open a profile and you can list the organizations that you would like to make introduction to, and startups starting to approach you and ask for your services, and you are getting paid, that's something great. That was definitely part of what we have vision, how we can help individual to grow. We also see the platform as, as something that can add value to your existing relationship. I've done that for many years. I have a long list of, very large network, business network. To be honest, I don't have the time to keep the relationship warm. I don't have, sometimes I don't have the reason to, using Hunterz makes you keep your relationship warm, make you approach people that, you haven't spoke with for a year, ex-colleagues in your last workplace, or someone you knew from university or used to work with at some point in your time. And you can, while doing the business introduction, you are keeping this relationship warm. If you choose rightly or correctly the enterprise, the startup that you connect your contact with, then you're probably going to get a thank you phone call, saying, hey John, thank you very much. That was a great meeting yesterday. The technology that you introduced for us is something very relevant for us, and thank you for doing that. And on top of monetizing on that event, you are also winning the appreciation and the thank you from your relationship, and that can be great if you play it right. We are a great networking platform by essence, so you can by being active on Hunterz, you are expanding your network by meeting fast-growing, innovative startup. I can share with you that any startup that we onboard, we do that via qualification process. Not every startup that wants to join, we accept. We understand that quality is a key to our success, is a key to your success. And in the same way that we want quality hunters on the platform, we are doing our best to make sure that we have quality startup on the other side with great product, with real innovation, something that you and your relationship within the organization can really enjoy. Just closing the benefit part, same as for the startup, you might find your next client if you are a freelancer, or your next employer if you are a part-timer or full-timer. This interaction with the startup, the opportunity to get to know the startup in private before taking any decision if you want to have anything on top of that with them, is a great opportunity. You even get the chance to listen and hear what the prospects think about the startup. So, if you are now helping a startup to meet 3-4 big retails, because that's your domain of expertise, and what you hear from your contact within these retail that, that the startup is great, the product is interesting, they see a lot of potential, that can be, something for you to think about if the startup is coming to you and say, hey, what about joining us? Are you interested to become one of our team in a full-time position? Then you have an edge. You already know that this startup has a great potential, and you heard it from your connection within the industry. That's something that doesn't exist today in any other method of workplace selection or hiring process. And that's very interesting value that we add on top of everything. We would like to see the situation as a triple win, because we are trying to make sure that the two players on the platform, which is the startup and the Hunterz, are really winning something and gaining something out of this interaction. For the startup, is the ability, as we just discussed, to score a live meeting with the relevant department within their dream customers, the flexibility that we introduce into their go-to-market strategy, and how we shorten the sales cycle. For you, the hunter, we just discussed that on top of monetizing and earning, extra money from doing business introduction. There are other benefit and value that we have just discussed. But I would like to focus as well on the value for the enterprises, even though they are not a part of the platform. They are not a party to that. They are just sitting outside the marketplace. So from that perspective, I just want to give you something to think about. What value can we bring to the enterprises? So we bring them basically the value of the ability or the tool to learn about new technologies and meet innovation and meet new suppliers that might be relevant for them tomorrow or the next year. But you might say, well, enterprises, they sit in their offices, and startups and other sellers are always approaching them and try to sell them their solutions. So, I just want to share with you that some facts. So we have in the US more than 5,000 banks. That's the number. We can argue about the small number, but that's 5,000 plus banks in United States. You know how many of them are listed in the Fortune 500? I just counted before the webinar, 27. That means that out of the Fortune 500, 5.5% are banks. You obviously realizing that, most of the startup and other sellers are queuing at the doors of these 27 banks. In general, startups by their DNA are targeting, at first at least, the big names. They want strategic wins. They want to show to their investors and board that they are on the right tracks, and they need big names, unknown bank from Montana or Ohio or anywhere else. It doesn't really help them to meet their KPIs and to satisfy their investors. So they are after the Fortune 500, and that means that they are going after 27 banks out of 5,000 banks in the US. What about the rest of the banks? You know that the majority of banks in the US have less than 1,000 employees. Almost none of these startups and sellers are chasing these guys. And to be honest, when you have a chance to speak with them, they are looking for technologies and they are looking for innovation in the same way that the big names looking for that. The only difference is that they don't have a long queue in front of their lobby doors. In most time, nobody is waiting at the lobby to introduce them anything. And the fact that we are today covering by thousands of hunters, thousands of different organizations in the US, far beyond the Fortune 500. We hope that we will soon start to show a value also for the enterprises, also for all these small banks, small retailers, small healthcare institutions that are not top of the Fortune 500, 1000s or whatever. And that's a very interesting value that we are starting to realize along the way. So I will shortly want to share with you how the process is working. That's the screenshots that will be released in three weeks' time by our engineering. We are planning a major release in a couple of weeks. And basically, just using this screenshot, I would like to explain to you how the process is working for you and for the startups. So as you probably know, because you've done that, Hunterz join and create a profile and the enterprises that they are connected to. From the other side of the platform, startups are joining, opening a profile, and start searching for enterprises that they would like to be introduced to. And they do it like a regular search that we all know. And the outcome of that, once your name was, appear to them in their search, and they are interested in your profile. So, if you look at the right side of the screen, what you can see is the startup view. So they can see your profile completely anonymous. And that's very important to mention at that stage. You are completely anonymous at that stage. Nobody is sharing your personal details, your name, your address, your contact details. Everything is private and anonymous. They can see your profile. They can see your scoring on the platform. They can see, how other startups that worked with you in the past, what feedback they gave on you, and they definitely see what is your relationship to Bank of America or Citi or whatever. And once they choose you as the hunter for the introduction, you are getting the introduction request. And that's something that, at least some of you already received so far. The introduction request is just a summary about the startup, about the organization that they want to connect with, definitely one that you are connected to. And then you need to take your decision if you want to work with them or not. If you are positive, if you are interested to take this task, to take the intro, the next step is that we are going to, board you or open a chat bot with you and with the startup. We are going to connect you directly with the startup. So you can exchange some basic information between you, and most importantly, to agree on an overview call between you. You together mutually agree on time and date, and the next step would be an overview call. The overview call is just an opportunity for you and the startup to get to know each other, to exchange information relevant for the for the introduction in question, and basically to provide you all the information to reach an educated decision if you want to move forward, if you want to take this startup to your relationship. The startup need to decide the same if you are the right person for taking his solution to the enterprise. And if the answer is yes, if both sides feel comfortable and wants to move forward, then the next step will be, of course, to exchange, any marketing collaterals, and work together on a suitable time and date for the introduction. Just a quick note, from the way that we work, the Hunter is responsible for setting up the introduction meeting and making sure that the introduction happened within the correct attendees. So basically, your responsibility is to coordinate the meeting. It is not enough just to send some sort of an introductory email or something like that. You are managing the event here, you are coordinating it, and you should be on top of everything and have full control. And the end result should be an agreed date and time where the startup is going to meet the enterprise. Once the meeting was done, and we get a confirmation from you and from the startup, we are paying you for your service within 2 business days. Our main payment tool is PayPal today, so you can expect to get the fees for the service within 48 to 72 hours from the moment we got the confirmation. We discussed a little bit before, why business referrals or business warm introduction are so valuable and why they are considered as the holy grail of the B2B industry. That's definitely true and has much more, present these days because of the special situation that we are in right now. We are in the COVID-19 times. All kind of news channels discuss about depression and economic crisis, and many things have changed in our working environment, and enterprises from small to big, trying to cope with the changes. Some of them are in panic, some of them trying to adapt to the new reality. There's so many things going on, and definitely many organizations and many individuals are not in focus right now. And that obviously makes everything in that climate much more challenging, to stand out of the crowd or to be in front of any enterprise these days. Within this crisis, B2B companies almost lost control or ability to use traditional sales tools and channels like event, trade show, conferences, face-to-face meetings. For many of them, their distribution channels are not functioning as usual. Many B2B companies really depend on or rely on distribution channels, partners, channels, whatever it is. For many of them, these times, their channels are not responsive, and that cut off many sales processes that was part of the story here. And they are looking in uncertain times, in changing time, they are looking for ways to think out of the box, to find new ways, creative way to get in touch with prospects. And that's something that we are experiencing in the last 2 months. As I mentioned, we're experiencing a very significant increase in the demand. We see many startups, approaching us, signing up, asking for the service, because the time that we live in actually required, a real original thinking and thinking out of the box. And that's something that we can offer definitely, and we do that, I think, with a good success rate when it comes to using you guys with your relationship in order to stand out of the crowd and to stand out of the current noise, and for the ability to generate business, initiate business with enterprises in this specific time that we all live in. Yeah, I think that again we just covering the fact, what makes us unique a bit, what makes you unique as individuals on the platform with your relationship, how it is perceived these days by startup and mid-sized companies as a tool to get business meetings and to initiate sales processes. Okay, that was the slide deck and the story that we have prepared based on the request that we have received from you based on the inputs. We have 13 minutes left, so I would suggest that we will go over some of your questions, and if time will allow us, even to open up the discussion and allow you to ask more questions. Let's start with questions that people send in advance. So that question is coming, from time to time from Hunterz and startup as well. That's perfectly fine. Again, we are offering something completely new. You don't have anything to compare what we do or the service that we offer to any other platform. So, a legit question that is very common. When we are talking about warm intro or successful intro, we are talking basically about a live conversation between the startup and the point of contact within the appropriate department at the enterprise, which is basically mean, in ordinary time, that could be a face-to-face meeting between the startup and the enterprise, but definitely can be a video call and must be a video call in the COVID-19 time. We are talking about, as a default, as a minimum, we are talking about a 30 minutes meeting between the startup and the enterprise with a person that was qualified in advance by the startup and approved in advance. That's for us a successful intro. Again, I'm saying it over and over again, our job, your job as Hunterz, is to do your best effort to prepare the meeting. It's to do your best to make sure that your contact within the enterprise is really interested in the solution and in the startup, and give the startup, the best condition to have a successful meeting. But again, once the meeting started, once the startup is in the meeting room with the team, with the presentation, with the solution, neither you or us can control the outcome, and that's not part of the thing that we look at or measure. We are looking on the preparation. Yeah, again, we covered that. I would just add that, one of the questions that usually comes in also is about should I as a hunter be part of the meeting? Should I attend the meeting? We don't have a policy for that. That's an open question. That's something to be discussed with the startup on the overview call or after that. Some startup really insist that you will be, you will attend the meeting, and some hunters, care so much about the relationship that they they're asking the startup to take part in the meeting, to attend. We never reach here a dead end. It always end up with some mutual understanding. We don't feel that this is something that we should control or guide as the platform. That's an open question for you and for the startup to decide on. How should I present the intro request to my network? So again, a very subjective situation. Each one knows his contact best, and each of you has, a different level of connection with that person. So it's completely, your call. What we suggest, based on our experience, is always be transparent about the background, about the fact that you are being compensated, about the fact that you are actually now in a consultancy position with the startup, and you help them to open doors and then, build a sales funnel or the way that you would like to present it. But, we are part of the B2B ecosystem. Enterprises understand that people that come with solution, services, product to them, all of these people are getting paid as professionals for doing that. If you're a full-timer, a part-timer, a freelancer that do that, the guys at the other side of the enterprise fully understand that the people that, coming and presenting and preparing this meeting are people that are getting a compensation for the hard work. That's nothing new here. And again, how you present it, it's your call. We suggest that you be transparent and open about that. If you like, there are few email templates that we know that work great for other hunters. So we have placed them on our website. You can have a look. If you like something, feel free to use this template. For some people, it is very helpful. What is the best way to receive intro requests? Well, that's a great question. I must say that, now that I see it again, I'm saying, what is the best way to, to place my my property on Airbnb, or something like that. Different situation, different platform, but the basic is the same. Having a good profile with accurate and detailed enterprise connection is a key. Be precise, be accurate about who you list and what is the level of connection, and make sure that the startup can easily understand that. You will be selected for the process based on that. If you don't have the right relationship, save your time and the startup time. Just try to be genuine, just try to be accurate and detailed everything, so the startup on the other side can take a decision if they want to engage you or not. Some trends that we have observed, the majority of our intro requests are coming, of course, as I mentioned before, for the Fortune 500, 1,000 companies. Again, I mentioned it, that's part of the DNA of small startup and mid-sized startup to chase the big names. If you have connection with these Fortune 500 or whatever companies, make sure that they are on your profile. You increase dramatically the chances that the startup will find you and will engage you. The most popular industries on the platform right now are financial services, healthcare, media, tech. Again, if you have relationship within these industries, within these sectors, make sure that this relationship on the platforms, again, that will increase dramatically your chances to be noticed and selected. And when it comes to departments, IT, CISO, operation, marketing, HR, customer success, they are more popular than others. But, if I must give you one advice, it would be have a good profile, a rich profile, an accurate profile, and make sure on top of that, that you are providing the startup a good experience, providing for him a good service, because at the end of the day, that your profile will have two building blocks. One is the list of enterprises that you cover, your reach, The second one will be obviously the level of your service. How, how responsive you are, how communicative you are. All these factors will be, mixed into a score. And again, like in any other platform that you offer something that you have, you need these two building blocks. You need to have your offering, your service, product, or whatever it is. And on top of it, it never hurt to add a good service, a good performance, a good feedback. Then probably you are going to be on the top list of our hunters, and you will get as many as intro requests, startup are looking for. Just thumb rules about, a good profile. So from our experience that we have gathered in the last 2 years, have at least 5 enterprises that fit the criteria that we have discussed just before. Think of your connection in terms of enterprises and not individuals. Prioritize enterprises where you have multiple contacts. Maybe it's a little bit strange at the beginning to think about your contacts, which are all personal in terms of an enterprise, but try to do this small tweak to your thinking. If you know Walmart and 20 different directors in Walmart, that's much better to list on the platform than if you know TD Bank and one person who is responsible for the, I don't know, as a cloud architect or as a marketing director. Like many other platforms, we are not different. Quality over quantity approach, that always work. And I'm saying over and over again, part of our job as Hunterz.io, as the platform, is to keep the quality high as possible. And we are going to do that. And we are doing that already, and we will keep doing that. We will make sure that the quality is there in terms of the startup that we onboard, in terms of the hunters that are active on the platform. And that's one of the best selling tools that we can offer you. Make sure that the quality of your enterprises and the quality of the business introduction that you deliver is good. That will be reflected in your profile, and that will be noticed by the startup at the other side of the marketplace. I haven't received an intro request yet. Well, don't worry. We are still matching candidates manually. Yep, we are not big as other marketplaces yet. We are getting there, but it takes time and effort. Right now, part of what we do is still manual. So it's a kind of a small bottleneck for us, but we are coping with that. It makes us work a little bit slowly, so don't worry. It's only a matter of time. If you have a good profile, as we just discussed, it's only a matter of time until startup will notice that and start issue intro requests for you. As I mentioned, within 3 weeks' time, we are going to release a major upgrade to the platform, and part of the activities will be automated. That will shorten the time for introduction. That will ease the selection of the startup, and it only makes sense that somewhere in the near future you will start getting introduction requests. If you still feel something is wrong, if you still feel that you have a good profile and you're still not getting any introduction requests, again, feel free to contact us. Send us an email. We will call you back. We will sit with you. We will review your profile. We will see if we can do anything to accelerate intro requests for you. Again, feel free to do that. We are happy to do that. That's it, folks. We just hit the time limit. I'm sorry for that. What I suggest that, if you have any question about what I just presented, If tomorrow, something pop up to your mind, feel free, send us an email to info@hunterz.io. We will call you back. We will give you the answer in person. And that's it. I truly apologize that we cannot get now into an open Q&A session. But I can say that from my side, I enjoyed very much. And we are so thankful for each and every one of you that sign up and join and trust us. And we promise to deliver what we just discussed on that webinar. And that's it. So have a good one. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful for you. And see you in the next webinar. Thank you so much.